Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here to enjoy ourselves a very exciting show match. A show match featuring Mixu from Finland and Indy from Poland. It's some StarCraft 2 pros and commentators. You can call them what you want, but to us here in Cosmonarchy, they've been around for a while in the RTS space, in the StarCraft 2 space. It's time to see what they think of our project here, our little corner of the internet that is growing ever vast. Welcome back to Cosmonarchy show matches, to Cosmonarchy content in general. Just took a little vacation, and now here we are, ready to rock and roll. And who will be rocking and a-rolling with us? You may be wondering, and to that I say, an excellent question. Let's pop on over to see some information about our new homies. We've got over here Mixu, hailing from Finland as mentioned. He apparently has played enough versus the AI, enough practice, enough stuff like that to already name a Cosmonarchy unit as his favorite unit. The Bactalisk is apparently what he likes the most. That's pretty good. That means that he knows how to evolve his Hydrith then. He knows how to get everything he needs to get for some of that mid-game power that the Zerg really have, really want, really need. Particularly in a matchup like Z versus P, which is what we have right here. Indy, on the other hand, I don't know how much practice he's had, but Mixu, already looking formidable. I mean, just look at that picture. Easy for Ents, perhaps. Easy for, I think that's like a ripped macho Jim Raynor in the background with all that fire. I don't know what's going on there. Maybe he went to like a China tournament or something, because I know they have really outrageous marketing. Either way, though, it's been interesting. It's been interesting to see Mixu just sort of rock up yesterday and already start to know a little bit about the game. So I am happy about that one for sure. But we have one other player. You know, it takes two to tango, as they say, and let's pop in. Let's see what Indy is up to. Obviously a fairly more advanced age, you could say, one that I now share with him. I turned 31 over my vacation, so maybe that puts some kinship between Indy and myself. He is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Polish streamer for StarCraft 2, Polish-speaking commentator who regularly provides a lot of match commentary. So he knows esports greatness. He knows RTS greatness. And he himself was a pro player at one point in time. I would say, you know, a lot of the times in StarCraft 2, to call yourself a retired pro gamer doesn't really mean that you don't still play. You'll still play a little bit. And so that's always a fun one to check out as well. Right about now, we have him reigning in with his favorite unit, the Protoss High Templar, which of course is called the Cantavus in Cosmonarchy, but perhaps I should have listed it as High Templar instead, just to be obvious that I don't think he's played around with the Cantavus yet, but maybe he has. Maybe he'll surprise us. In fact, I would put him as a little bit of a slight underdog here, even though I haven't seen either of these two players play, because, well, I don't know if Indy has been practicing gaming, strategizing, whatever that word was supposed to be, strategizing, and, of course, coming up with exciting moves here and there. So that is where we find ourselves, ladies and gentlemen. We find ourselves in a situation where it is soon time to get rockin' and rollin' here for show match number 6. I think I will go ahead and reveal our first map selected by Mixu. It is an interesting and exciting one. It is Magnetron, a port of Tokamak. I originally did that for Trigger back in the previous StarCraft 2 show match. And we'll see. We'll see what happens here. I'm getting a little bit more information from our players as they're just kind of bantering back and forth. I do think it'll be interesting. It's Terran is what Mixu played in StarCraft 1, and he played Zerg in the StarCraft Evolution mod. So we'll see how that one goes. We'll see how that has prepared him for Cosmonarchy, which is very different. So we'll see. We'll see what he wants to do. I'll ask our players if they are ready, and we'll see if we can get started here. Thanks for joining us for our exciting match. Indy and Mixu are indeed ready, and Indy says that he only played StarCraft 1 when he was young. Well, time to play some StarCraft 1.5, perhaps, now that you are the way that you are. Indy, let us see what you've got in store for us on a map like Magnetron. We are live with our first match here. It is Indy in the bottom left. He seems to have rolled the maroon Protoss. I'm going to bump our latency up a little bit higher. And we have Mixu in the top right, hailing from Finland, our teal Zerg. We'll see what all he wants to do. It looks like he's going to be going for mineral-focused play early. That could mean instant pool. That could mean hatch first. I'm really excited, man. I always am excited to see what the StarCraft 2 guys do, especially when they're up against each other. That does change the calculus a little bit, right? When you think about the way that, like, a StarCraft 2 player coming in and playing StarCraft 2 style, where they take a lot of expansions and they expand really fast and stuff, like Han Mono did in his Showmatch, the way she absolutely cleaned house in. Yeah, that's going to be the kind of thing that you won't necessarily look at and say, oh, definitely that's going to work out. That's, if you're talking about StarCraft 2 player mentality coming in against a Cosmonarch that's already experienced with the meta. But we do have a fast expand, and it looks like Indy is setting up for his own Nexus first, bro. All right. So we are going to see that very, very important setup here, where both players have decided to expand fast. I mean, you can tell that StarCraft 2 is on the brain for these guys, and we'll see what they want to do. Now, to be clear, Nexus first versus Zerg in StarCraft 2, not something that you're going to see every day on the ladder, right? Well, maybe that depends on which ladder it is. Let's get our prediction underway. We have Mixu versus Indy in that prediction leaderboard. Feel free to drop your predictions now that you know the openings. It's going to be a gateway on the way now, and I'm really looking forward to seeing where this all comes from. You know what I mean? Like, where does this go? Where are we going with this? How are we going to get anywhere closer to a more standard-looking game for Cosmonarchy? Got Foxer in the chat for Twitch. Welcome. Already somebody voting for Mixu, or at least backing him verbally. We like that. It's going to be Hydrith immediately after that expand, which is interesting. That's very interesting. We got the 2-gate coming out here, as well as the Nexus. That'll finish up in just a moment. Right about now, it's feeling like maybe Mixu's got some more interesting ideas. He's making his Hydrith then, right? And so there is that. And he's also going for a Khazitra. This feels like it's an incorrect choice. That maybe was supposed to be a Larvosk, unless he's trying to hold his ramp. Khazitra is a defensive structure that you use to augment your combat units. And we're going to have a lot of combat units, but it's going to be on the other side of the map. Going up to 4 gateways off of his 2 base, his Nexus first. Indy's going to try to spike up a lot of power. We know he likes to use gateway units in general, so this really shouldn't come as too much of a surprise. Zealot first. He's got an Ecclesiast on the way. We'll see what he gets done there afterwards, but the Khazitra is done, and we'll see. Maybe Indy... Did Indy intend to do this? Now, I don't want to... Or did Mixer rather intend to do this? I don't want to, speak ill of anyone. I'm just going to point out, like, Arbiz Budesh in a tournament game very recently made a Khazitra when he meant to make a Larvosk, so it can happen to some of our most experienced players. That sort of thing happens. But actually, looking at his placement for the second one, this might not have been a mistake. Now, he's making a Larvosk there. That actually looks like a better spot for a Khazitra, as you're defending your natural as well. Worker counts are pretty even, which is not what we would expect for this time in the game, kind of indicating... I guess the worker count in general is a bit higher than normal, but it's also like Mixu being only trailing by 5 versus a fast expand from the Protoss. That should probably be a little bit less. But he's starting to fall behind on your expected larva production. But Hydras are much more larva efficient. So Zealot Ecclesiast are going to pop out here. It's just one of each, so this isn't going to do any damage. It's mostly a scouting attack, and he's going to see that his opponent has a Larvosk. I think maybe I don't really know where those Hydra shots went. He might have attacked his own Larvosk there. Yeah, I guess so. Adding more Zealots, adding an Ecclesiast, or rather a Hierophant. And, of course, Grand Library for the Cantavis. Okay, apparently I'm going to eat my words. Man likes his High Templar units, right? Makes sense. Just like Psionic Storm. He's going to laugh if he sees Psystorm, because recently Blizzard changed Psystorm to be something that takes ticks for longer and is bigger. And in Cosmonarchy, we didn't change the size, but we did make it so that it takes way longer and deals like less damage per tick. But you can channel it actively, and you can also order it to move around, and it will do a little bit of stacking damage, although there's fall off on how much damage it stacks. It's like each successive storm is under a little bit under strength. It's like less efficiency, less damage percentage. We already have Bactylisks on the way. I kind of overlooked the fact that the Hydra has been morphed. So we are going to get that Hydra Bactyl, maybe some Core army as well. It looks like they've been added in. A lot of Grand Libraries, a lot of military here for Indy. he could storm to a victory, and he doesn't even immediately know it. One of the things that's really, really interesting about the way that Indy has set himself up, so Zealots, while their shields hold, have 3 armor. Amaranths, no matter what, have 3 armor, and they have shield steel to try to keep themselves with their extra shields. Plus, we got the 1 Ecclesiast for support as well. But really critical here is the fact that Indy is assembling a lot of frontline units, and he should be able to stay alive versus all of these Bactylisks. Hydras are better versus armor. Bactylisks have no armor penetration, and their damage kind of assumes that they're going up against something with low armor if you want to be the most effective. Now, we do have some Skithrakors coming in for some air presence here for Mixu. Unlikely to do a lot of damage by themselves, but it's a possibility. Now, what is our gateway count? We have 5 gates, 3 grand libraries. I love it. Drakken's coming out for some ranged firepower now that the Zealots are in a good position. Pylon is down at the 3rd base, but that will be stopped very, very soon in its tracks, unless Indy feels like he can just kind of crack off over here. I thought Mixu would maybe cycle back when he sees the number of Zealots that he's got to deal with. Well, he's got more coming in from the north. This is not nearly enough Zerg to deal with this many Protoss, and if he ends up losing everything here, the Cantavis throws the storm out. He even gets some hallucinations going. There's the mobile storm that we love to see, and that should be almost every single Zerg unit falling. Protoss units now starting their death march across the map. We only have Hydras in production for Mixu, but not a lot. He's only got 3 larva production right now. At this stage of the game, he should have way more than that. Remember, you don't have larva injects, you don't have queens, so he's going to end up struggling versus a little bit of a, how would we call it? Is this the modern ape toss, perhaps? That's a possibility. A couple of these units from Indy are going to get overwhelmed by the pure amount of Hydras. The one Skithrakor is heckling inside the main base. I thought maybe more than one was made at one point. Nonetheless, we've got a very heavy mass of Hydras. Remember that Khaz'Trith at the high ground. If he cedes the natural, it's probably over from an economic standpoint, as the 3rd base is on the way for Indy. But he might be able to fall back and at least wipe the army. Now cycling back with his Hydras, making sure to try to pick apart those Zealots. Remember, they lose their armor when they lose shields. They only go down to 2. The Hydras are able to deal with them, but there's the Clump Storm. That's what you need. There's a second one there. He's just standing in it. He's just standing in it, and there we go. It starts to move over, canvassing all of the Drolettes as well. All the workers falling in the natural, and the Hydras are absolutely ripped to shreds. You saw how efficient that Zerg army was versus what Indy had until the Storms came out. Absolutely important, paramount for our Polish Protoss, who's about to take victory. The Skithrakor's only been able to kill 3 scribes so far. One of them is not an impressive amount of damage, huddling around the Khaz'Trith, which is almost dead already. Mixu just has Hydras being made. There is no hope for him in this game. He's got his 1 Skith kind of poking around, seeing what he can find, but the 3rd base is up. GG as the Storm canvases that main base, and Indy is on the board bright and early. Now's about time for Indy to make his own sort of thought process here as to how he wants to handle the next map pick, because Mixu, losing that map, will pick our next one. We'll see how that comes into play. We don't have too many maps that are played from that are ported from StarCraft 2 just yet. We actually only have a trifecta. But that's quite all right. We'll wait for that next one to come on in. I have to type a little bit to Sir Mixu here while we get ready for our second map selection. Our players earn $10 just for showing up and $10 for every map win. So that's why we have our current prize pool. All right, just let him know that he picks anything besides Magnetron for our next map, and we will be getting ready for it. We're going to go to Demaloon for our next round. It's interesting that we're getting a Cosmonarchy official map already. Posted up and ready for our homies to go. Thanks for bearing with us in between. I think Mixu might have been checking replay or something, so he needed a second to select his next map. Or maybe he was just looking at the map list. We do have a pretty expansive number of maps, so that is also quite the possibility. Demaloon is a very standard map. It's one of them that you don't associate necessarily with either race in this particular matchup being advantaged. But also, we kind of throw out the typical rule book when you're dealing with pros that are... They have their very good, what would you say? They have very, very nice baseline mechanics, but they don't necessarily... They don't necessarily understand the meta or the mechanics of the game that are specific to that, but they have really good baseline RTS mechanics, so we don't care too much for that one. Here we are on Demaloon, which, as Biddy B rightly points out in chat, is technically a StarCraft 1 port. It's been changed a lot since then, but I do sometimes forget that it's originally the map Overwatch from StarCraft 1. Indy is in the top left as our Zafir Protoss. Mixu in the bottom right, our Scarlet Zerg. I'm on point with the color guesses today, boys. We'll see how long that lasts. I'm going to start up our prediction earlier than last match. I totally didn't just forget to start the prediction. I totally was waiting for Nexus first versus Hatch first. That's a unicorn of a game for sure. But definitely feel free to make your predictions. It does look like Indy might be thinking about the same thing. And maybe Mixu's doing the same as well. I trust that our competitors are not listening in to the commentary, because obviously that would be a pretty big strategic advantage for them. One would say an unfair one, perhaps cheating. But it is worth pointing out that Mixu was a little bit curious about like mining gas early and whether or not that's bad for your economy. We know that he mined gas a little bit faster than his hatch went down, so he's a little bit slow, disjointed on the build, which is what you would expect if you're just starting out anyway. I'm not throwing shade, but factually, that resulted in him having his tech a little bit faster, and he did end up... I did get confirmation the Khazitrith was a mistake in the main base, so he accidentally made that one. Happens sometimes. First gateway on the way for Indy, so similar game plan seeming to foment. We'll see if he goes to 4 gate in the main, 1 gate in the natural, into 3 grand library, 3rd base. We'll see if the Mixu even lets him get to that point. But I did let him know that, the Larvosk production is the larva production in general is probably what he's missing. If I had to give him advice that he'll never hear unless he watches back the cast, I would say that what you probably want, impressive transfer timing, what you probably want for your general approach is more larva, and yes, a lot of top Cosmonarchy players are doing this complicated gas dance where they harvest a lot of gas in the early game for Larvosk. I say don't worry about that. You don't need to be cutting edge meta. In fact, that might even hurt you because you're going to go up against non-meta. So just focus on your own game, so to speak, because Indy's making 4 gateways in his main base and making a big army. You just need units. You just need more units, and you just need, maybe more right units. And so it looks like he will be going for a Larvosk inside his natural as opposed to the main, and perhaps this one will be more of a defensive cell. Larvosks are pretty juicy targets, but I don't know that Indy knows that yet. We are going to get a much healthier worker count so far for our Zerg player, although Indy is starting up his scribe production at the second base. He hasn't transferred any over, but he actually doesn't need to right now. If he adds more mineral harvesters from this point on, we can, subtly criticize that, but I don't predict that these pros have studied up on the return rates or anything. Saturation rates. That's actually a second Larvosk in a very vulnerable position, in my estimation, but it will spread the Kagura a bit closer to the choke point. Perhaps he can add some more static defense there. StarCraft 2 players, I think they typically build some static defense. Well, I know they typically build some static defense kind of blindly when they understand the matchup and the counters, but they don't necessarily overbuild them. And it's interesting. Like, sometimes you'll see pro level PvZ in StarCraft 1, and trying to defend a Hydra bus, they warp in like 10 photon cannons or whatever. And that feels very overkill, but actually it's what they need. And so it's a little bit of a different mindset when it comes to static defense construction, because usually you're building it in very sharp timings to defend against, you know, what your enemy can have, like one Liberator or one Banshee or one Oracle, you know, stuff like that. It's very different in Cosmonarchy. You typically do want some kind of stronghold you can fall back to, which is, you know, fairly bog standard when it comes to the general idea. But you can see Mixu's already made some adjustments, right? He's made his Hydra's Den. He's harvesting Vespene gas. He obviously prioritized that with his natural when he sent 2 workers out there immediately. And he's adding a lot more larva a lot faster. Gone are the days where he's making his Khazit-Rith, right? That's not happening. And a very fast third base here at 4 minutes. This is very StarCraft 2 coded. I very much look forward to seeing where that comes from, because where do we go from there? We've got the Grand Libraries coming up for Cantavis production. Indy definitely enjoying that one. And while I can't guarantee you that Indy has practiced a lot of build orders or anything, it does feel like he's got a better understanding of the game than I initially thought I initially feared he might. I had no, you know, convincing idea about how Indy would be looking. But I didn't see him looking for games. I don't even know if he looked at the website a lot, right? Like, these are my blind spots coming into this. There's no room, no data for me to download to try to prep myself for his level, aside from how he plays in StarCraft 2. And we know he likes gateway units. We know he likes his warp gate. So what are we going to see after that? Well, apparently we're going to see a lot of Grand Libraries. Apparently we're going to see, you know, Gateway Grand Library. He's going to play the honorable Protoss path. And he's going to be going up against a whole lot of Hydras. Some Izira as well. Great for, you know, spreading out some shield damage, bouncing. If there's not a lot of Ecclesiasts, you're not really going to be able to do much about that. Have to dodge the storms, but it's a lot more forgiving in StarCraft 2 and also in Cosmonarchy than it is in StarCraft 1. Not that they may immediately know that. Checking to make sure nothing at 12 o'clock here. No third base fast for Indy. He was pretty slow to take his third, actually, if you think about his Nexus first shenanigans. But they are going to start meeting around this bridge. First little army battle. He's going to cycle back, let his Izira Cores get to the front. Love that little stutter step backwards, and you can see him pulling away out of the chunk, out of that storm, letting Indy walk into it himself. The recast is good, but actually it's starting to kill his own zealots a little bit. A couple of reinforcements just kind of screwing up the reset from Indy here as he's trying to get away. Oh, he storms his own Cantavis by mistake, and then it gets taken out by Hydra, and Izira Core bounces. This is a very scary amount of units for our Zerg player. He's really powering up. He has some workers at that 6 o'clock, which is very mineral dense, but it's not a whole lot, right? He's mostly just going after that gas right now. The Hierophant tagging to help slow down some of these units, maybe try to pinch a few of them off. But look at the larva, and we have that Zorkiz Shroud. No Likizilisks as of yet, but a Zoruse has been started. So Mixu's aware that those units exist. Looking a lot better for our Zerg player. Scribe at the third base. He's set up a pylon as well, just in case. And this is a humongous amount of Hydras for Mixu. I don't think any of these Protoss units are going to get away. Very, very dangerous. We don't have any remax on the Cantavis either. He needs crowd control versus that many units. That's why a lot of Protoss will end up going the Automata route. A Cantor is our Reaver equivalent. Things like that. Try to get consistent splash damage. I really respect the Cantavis play. But he's going to get spawn camped if he's not careful. Mixu just diving straight past the bridge. That's the containment force that Indy could have maybe used. Let's see those rally points. He has corrected them so that maybe he can immediately use them, but they're still maybe 10 seconds away, and his Draconins are starting to crumble. The timing is so good here for Mixu. And Amaranth is the only thing that stands in the way. It's supposed to be immortal, but it is not this time. Indy, GG's, and Mixu hits a nasty timing with so many damn Hydras. And just like that, we've got a tie series back on the board. It's going to take a little bit for Mixu to make some magic happen, but it looks like the magic is real. If those Cantavis had finished up, or maybe if he had made them a little bit sooner, I think Indy could have held, especially at that bridge. That's the choke point. One thing that you got to give these guys a little bit of understanding, a little bit of grace about, is the bottom line is that pathing is much more fluid in StarCraft 2. And it's a balancing mechanic in StarCraft 1 that we deliberately made sure to, like, not that there's a limit to how many things we can fix anyway, considering we don't have source code, but Cosmonarchy does not reinvent the wheel when it comes to the balancing of the pathfinding, right? Big blobby armies don't really exist in the same way. So getting across that bridge in such quick fashion is actually a little bit remarkable, especially when you consider the source. We'll see what he ends up doing from there. But I'm excited, man. I'm excited. Okay. It looks like we have our next map pick much quicker than last time, which I'm happy about. We're going to Acid Test, which is a port of Litmus. This is a very modern ASL map to be being played by some homies from StarCraft 2's clean space, his esports space. I guess we'll have to see. We got a cat in the chat. Chat cat. Hope you cats are doing well. Mixu's asking all the right questions, all the fun questions for me to try to imagine. He's wondering about the like drops and stuff now. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. I wonder if Indy is messaging Veek, by the way. Happy birthday to Veek, almost. It's in 2 days. It will be the man's birthday. So that'll be very exciting, very fun, very wonderful. And speaking of wonderful, we're getting straight into our next matchup here. It'll be Mixu in the top right, Indy in the bottom right. Once again, on a map that we don't typically associate with the StarCraft 2 homies, because it's a very frequent ASL map. But this one is the Litmus Port Acid Test. We'll talk about the map layout as the match progresses. Indy in the bottom right here is Midnight Green Protoss, and Mixu in the top right is red. Just plain old red Zerg. Ooh! Alright, Mixu, getting a little sneaky with it. Well, we don't have much time before this prediction is going to start to become more obvious, I think, but a very fast pool from Mixu. That's a different one. That's not what we see typically. Mixu checking the layout. We do have these stasis cells that are actually stacked. Oh, no, I think I've updated the map. They aren't stacked anymore. But they typically were back in the day. You got your natural, you got your little choke point into it, and then, of course, this little back passageway is blocked by this 2,000 HP structure, so it will take a while to navigate that, especially with, with anything other than a really powerful army. It's going to be hard to tear down a structure like that. There's the Nexus first. Nexus first into Pool first is quite the matchup, not something that I would have thought. Now, it's going to be a while before Mixu gets much of anything done here, but maybe he's only now realizing, or maybe he's already realized, that Zethra cores are 25 minerals a pair. Oh, I guess the other thing that he might be somewhat familiar with, because I know they started to do this in StarCraft 2 maps as well, is he might be familiar with the fact that these minerals can be mined out to pop your units over them. So we saw him select a bunch of Droleth there. That made me think of it, but that's not what he's doing. Gateways are coming in. It's going to be a while before Indy can actually defend the Zeths. I know this isn't the most hardcore all-in from Mixu, as he has an expansion on the way. He's starting to get his Vespene gas. I mean, when you see the Nexus almost done warping in, it's that's going to be an interesting revelation here, you know? He just decides to walk right past it. Uh-oh, Indy, what are you going to do now? Puts down a Warden. That's not going to last for very long. Well, let's see. Maybe he's just going to go after the workers instead. Nice pull back there. Workers are tankier than you associate them with in the typical StarCrafts. Is he going to go after that Warden? That would be the main target for my money. But he wants to try to fight the workers instead. Great drilling. Great drilling so far. No casualties. Indy holding somehow. I can't believe it. Well, the Nexus is somewhat defenseless. We have a Zealot coming in. Mixu doesn't want to try it. That Warden should actually be able to get up now. which is really surprising to think about. Putting down his third gateway later than expected. Diving back in for more. I can't believe he let that Warden finish. Mixu might be able to get a worker kill here. Indeed he will. Oh, the drill. Ooh, got him. Does he have any more Zethar cores on the way? It doesn't look like the answer is yes. Well, he can get a second worker kill. He's done some disruption. I'm not sure if it's been enough. Good little dance there, but ooh, just narrowly not able to deal with that. So the Zealots are pieced apart. We got Drakenins on the way. And it looks like the Larvosks are being set up for here in a moment. Another dead worker. Mixu already applying some pressure. Already getting a little bit of value here. This is much better than what I thought was going to happen after how the opening initially seemed to go. Really going after that scribe, but it's not going to be quite enough, and the one Zethar core will stay alive. Oh, never mind, it died. Snapped. Okay, where does that leave us? Triple Gate, Grand Library. We know there's no Hydrith follow-up. Indy may not know that, but, you know, the pool start is cheeky. Indy's been holding to the same game plan the whole time, so far. That makes it very interesting to me to imagine what his adjustments are going to be based on that last little scuffle. We don't have that many combat units, actually, for Mixu right now. In fact, we have a grand total of 0 and also 0 in production. What do we do about this? Now the shoe is on the other foot as far as harassment goes. Well, that was never destined to work out quite well. Mixu is probably trying to do his little, you know, you make your spore crawler to save your worker kind of thing. Oh, dear. Oh, dear, the workers are being massacred. Yeah, this doesn't work out as well for the Zerg. Protoss units are a little bit tankier. We got Zethar cores out. 4 more pairs on the way. If he can get those workers out of there and just kind of keep this army engaged until the next round of units hatches, he might stand a chance. But Zethar cores are, they're just not it versus Zealots in the same way. My God. Mixu floundering a little bit here. Now down 10 workers after the early game shenanigans did not get him as ahead as he wanted to. And then the runoff, just charging across the map. A pair of Nathra cores on the way. Run the armor. Okay, that's one thing. He's got 3 pairs of Zeths more. More units popping in all over the place. The workers are back to mining in the main base. Better that they mine somewhere. And now pouncing upon the Drakenid. That's all the range damage that Indy has. So the Nathra cores... Oh, he's making a lot of Nathra cores now. Recognizing his opportunity. Cycling all the way back with the Zeths. Let's see. Where do these Zealots go from here? The Flyers have descended. Remember, the Warden in the main base will protect the workers from these. But the Natural, is the Natural protected? Do we have any more units coming in? The Zealots are going to re-engage. There's one Hierophant. That's not going to be able to deal with this many Naths. Starting to make workers again. You can't quite outrun them. It does take quite a while for them to kill anything, but you can't quite outrun them. Yeah, they've marked the Hierophant for death. See ya. The less armor a target has, the better the Nathra core is, for sure. More of them are being made. Mixu's made a lot of Zeths. I don't think these Zealots are going to get too much eco damage done, but actually, Mixu allows these two to walk up on the left. A little bit of a split force here. That's going to be 3 workers going down at minimum. And it looks like right about now is when things will fall apart a little bit more. So, the aggression has been held, but we've got Warden set up. It feels like we're kind of back to a normal game state. The problem is Mixu is very far behind in tech development, and his eco is not what it should be, with no third base in the cards for him just yet either. Looking like maybe we'll see Indy punch back after 2 games. Tit for tat so far. An Atreus or 3 have arrived. Very tanky units, very durable. And he got the Cantavis, which honestly, I don't know if he knows this, but if he uses the hallucination spell instead of the Psystorm, he'll actually be in a really good spot for dealing with the air stack. Zeths are going to keep this ground army engaged. We only have the 2 Wardens here versus 14 Nathra cores. Go right after that assembling one? Apparently not. Yeah, go after the workers instead. Well, Mixer's pretty close to taking a worker lead, by the way. He's drolled behind that attack. Problem is, does he have enough to withstand? Because he did lose a lot of Zeths earlier. He's starting to add some static defense. Sees the army moving out. He knows that he needs to scramble the gnats. This is a very, very precarious position for our Zerg player. His Zorkish Shroud is nearly complete, but it's going to be some time before it's actuated. Trying the Nath Cloud, 13 of them, patrolling. They can pick off, you know, important targets. He could just right-click the Cantavis, to be honest with you. But if the spells are reflexive enough, then all the Naths will be destroyed. More Naths flying about. 3 Lake is on the way. Maybe Mixu will actually have time. 4 circuits. Yeah, this is looking like a much better defense soon. I'm still a little bit concerned, right? Because Indy's setting up his 3rd base. We have no economic development, barring worker production for Mixu. No extra bases being taken. Scouting around, seeing what we got. And the Naths will go ahead and excise this 1 Draken. They can try to commit to the attack over here onto the workers. Honestly, with 19 Nats, you could just try to tear down the Wardens, but there is the open question as to how many casualties are you willing to take? And where are the reinforcements at? Yeah, the workers are being descended upon. We'll keep tabs on these Wardens as Indy's kind of floating around looking for extra bases, but none exist, really. Now that split damage coming back to bite him. He will take out that 1 Warden. Down to 10 Naths and dropping. Making only Zephyrcores. Oh, the lake is getting bopped, snapped. There is no detection for Indy. He's going to have to stand on top of the units to reveal them. And there it is. There's the burrow. I think when you see these Lake spines, you've got to respect them. Indy being pulled in, not where you want to go. Now, Cantavis Storm doesn't discriminate. If you can't see it, it'll still do damage. And you can see Indy's trying to figure out, snuff out, where are those Lake? In come the Naths for a little bit more worker harassment. Proving pretty effective at it. Amaranths are going to dive forward. That Storm is on multiple Lakers, but he's kind of blanketing the Zeths instead, which is, you know what, a good enough target. The Lakers are being killed by the Amaranths. They're being revealed as those melee units are standing right on top of it. 1 Cantavis remains. Another one has already fallen to splash damage. We got more Lakers ready to burrow, but will Mixu actually do it? There it is. He's lost the Larvosk on the front line. He's lost most of his circuits. Only 1 remaining. But look at this choke point. You just can't get through it. Here come the Nats to try to sow a little bit more chaos. Storming the eggs. The Zeths are keeping the Amaranths at bay. I never thought I'd see the day. Multiple Cantavis still here, but you can't make Archons from them in Cosmonarchy. Oh, the Storms are so damn good. Needs to burrow those Lakers and will. The Drollet's getting active in the fight. Azoryu speeding up everything and causing a little bit of armor rend to boot. It looks like this Protoss army may be wiped. Has he done enough economic damage? Open question. The hatch still stands. Took out some of the larva production. It's a messy game. Yeah, that Atreus is marked for death almost assuredly. Oh, he's burrowed the Zoryus by mistake. Here we go, the reinforcements. It's an interesting wave of Zeth and Quaz. Hydrath Den now starting up. Mixu going back to what worked for him in the previous game. This base in the top left did get set up in that time, and I'm not so sure Indy scouted it, but I think he saw a lake is just kind of moving around over here and was like, wait, where did that come from? And so he will confirm this location. That will have to be a canceled ridge cap for that extra Vespine. I guess he doesn't need to cancel it, but that's what you would think. He doesn't have the mobile army here. If it was a lot more Zeths, maybe he could try to contest this. He's going to concede that base in the top left. More Cantavises. A lot more Cantavises. He's trying to find it, forcing the burrow out. A lot more Lake is where that came from. Indy doesn't seem to immediately identify where the detection is. Escagant did get finished and finished off. Now here comes the Zerg move out, and only some Zealots and Stormers are over here. Yeah, the Cantavises are being made short work of right now. Perhaps Indy is going to get overwhelmed in the front lines. Where are his reinforcements? Doesn't seem to have a lot of them. He's got 2,000 minerals in the bank. Overwhelmed by choice. 4th base on the way, but the eco not being leveraged just yet. An Argosy has started. And some more static defense to protect it at that 2 o'clock 3rd base. Halfway complete on his 4th base. Is it going to matter as these Lakers get burrowing? The Zeth's not being chewed through and not fast enough. No splash damage in this comp. Cantavis has arrived to try and change that tune, but this 4th base will likely need to be canceled. I think just for tempo, you don't want to have to do much about that. 3rd base on the way for our Zerg. Now remember, Mixu is still fighting an uphill battle. He's starting to leverage Hydras. He's got a huge mineral bank and a reasonable gas bank as well. If he is able to successfully get not just his third base, but also his fourth base up, he stands a really good shot at actually taking this game. The tech development continues for Indy. Both players obviously had a humongous amount of resources. Amaranths are trying to stay alive, but the Armor Wren makes it difficult. A storm to cover the retreat. Some Hydras are starting to show their face. Mixu assembling quite the composition here. Another sacrificial Amaranth, unfortunately, bites the dust as the ranged units for Mixu cycle off to the side. Might be trying to pass through the temple here. No, it doesn't look like it. They're just kind of hovering above it. We've seen Solarians. We have seen Solarians recently. That's for sure. All right. Third base is up at the 2 o'clock position. I think I called this one 2 o'clock. It's 4 o'clock. I can read a clock, I promise. Then, oh, look at that. He's actually popped the temples just in time to snap the fourth base that was attempted to be built further away from the action. This is going to force a committal from Indy. He's going to have to fight through all the Lakers with no detection, though. Oh, no. Oh, he cycled it back, and it was just enough to throw him into the arms of the enemy. His army movement struggling. He's going to go ahead and proxy pylons over here for the fourth base of Mixu. But 2 o'clock is up and starting to sack some workers. What is Mixu's next move? He could add so many more macro hatches. Not a thing you do often in StarCraft 2. Not entirely unheard of, but it's way more common in StarCraft 1, to be fair. Hey, this Nexus might actually not fall. He's only got 2 Hydras for consistent damage to armor targets. Okay, it looks like the focus is going to be good enough. The Storm was a magnificent attempt from Indy to try to finish that off, but the Nexus will die. We can see an attempted setup over here at the 3 o'clock. Wardens are good for the defense, but they still don't provide detection. That's going to be a little bit tricky for Indy to realize. He has no idea, but the Zealots will step on top and reveal, and the Solarian shows itself. What do you do versus that? Well, you can try to make Mass Hydra. Before you get to a certain stack of Solarians, Hydras are very, very reasonable into them. The pylons are going to be scouted out. Indy burning a few too many candles on a few too different locations. And that temple route there into this extra base is going to prove very costly for Indy if those army rotations continue. That's like destructible rock equivalent. You cannot make it back. Ski back scab on the way. Those Bactylisks are going to be Mixu's favorite, being leveraged once again. The Lake is burrowing in the front. Good control and spacing so far. Got to watch out for those storms. But look, the Cantavises are on the front line. I don't think they're going to last for very long, but the storms are blanketing everything. Indy, he cannot be stopped from pressing the storm key, and you can't step to the Solarians if you got to go into inclement weather. That might have just been enough. We got more Hydras on the way, but is it going to be sufficient? No anti-air defenses. I say that. There is one Spraith. He's going to need a little bit more than that, though. I haven't watched enough StarCraft 2 lately to know if carriers are even made versus Zerg. I suspect Hydras are really good into them, but there's also many other choices that you have, like making a lot of Spore Crawlers. Perhaps Mixu will have to do that. His worker count is pretty low. Now his fourth base is being heckled. He didn't really ever set up much harvesting over at that extra base. Okay. Cantavis, with 1 HP effectively, is now adding the Psystorm, trying to go after the one Solarian. All they do is break the shields and scratch the paint. Oh dear. More Hydras spawning on location. We got 8 more on the way for the production, but there's more Solarians, there's more Cantavis. Indy is having a grand old time in a slugfest of a Game 3, but it looks like it's just about to wrap up here. I know I've been saying that for some time.
We've got here.
Silly Mixu. Hydras versus carriers doesn't work in regular BW.
Well, how about in StarCraft 2? Or how about in Cosmonarchy, as GG is called? Indy will take another match. Psystorm Solarian. I have not seen that particular one before. We are learning new things. I tell you. Somebody's going to watch this one back, and they're going to say, wait. Cantavis are good? Nathracors are good? Yeah, it turns out. Indy takes that game. We'll see if that holds true in the more distant future. Standing by for map 4's map pick. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But Indy got himself up to $30. I like that, man. I like that. I actually forgot to go ahead and do some checking if Sir Indy was live on his channel. For this particular one. He is not live, but I did just notice that Valhalla Valley was just selected. Oh my goodness. What a map. We last saw this in a different show match. And it's a zany one. It's a wacky one. I gotta update our little Twitch channel title there. And I did forget to send a tweet about this. So, you know, we had some pretty epic games already. I'm looking forward to where we go from here. All right, lads, we are getting into our fourth map. I can't believe it's only the fourth one. These guys have already been going for a little bit now. The slugfest continues on Valhalla Valley. Remember, we play all 9 maps regardless of score, but wouldn't it be just juicy? Wouldn't it be just juicy if we got there with a legit score in the legit way? Indy in the bottom left of Valhalla Valley. Palatinate Blue, Protoss. Mixu in the bottom right. Vivid Red? No, Vermilion. My first falter on the color guess. Vermilion Zerg. And let's get our predictions going. To me, it already looks like we're going to have a little bit more of a conservative play from Sir Mixu. But no, actually, I say that. He is going for the pool again. He believes in the strat. He got a lot of value out of the Nathracors, but they do cost a lot of resources. So it is a little bit of a gambit. And perhaps versus a more adept defense from Indy, it would have been less impactful, less impressive. Nonetheless, I'm interested in seeing where things go from there. Also worth pointing out, while you're watching these pro players from StarCraft 2 micro their army, Cosmonarchy is the most responsive experience you're going to get in the Brood War engine, that's for sure. However, we are on extra high latency, so factor that in if you end up seeing macro mistakes, you know? You're like, hey, what? Those pros didn't burrow as fast as they should have. Well, maybe they did, actually, but game latency. Though our latency is better than StarCraft Remastered's, that's for sure. It's more analogous to Shield Battery, if anybody has played with that or seen pros play with that or anything. All right. Zephyr Core is timed out a little bit better, although the hatch could still have gone down, so it looks like Mixu is still dialing in that build order. And the first gateway is on the way, so nothing more conservative than before for Indy, but I will point out, this map actually has a shorter rush distance than Litmus, the Litmus port of Acid Test. So we'll see if these Zephyr Cores can get anything done. I mean, the Zephyr Cores are going to come in here and see that the Nexus is pretty close to completion again, and they're going to be happy about that, right? They're going to be like, scribes, They're not called probes anymore, scribes, Straight to the Vornath. Mixu wants access to those Nather Cores again, I think. And the third gate is on the way. The first one will finish up soon. Nexus actually scouts what's happening. Oh, no. Oh, no. Mixu's been blocked by the minerals. He doesn't realize that's a wall. He realizes now. Regathering his strength. One Zealot is on the way. Warden already in production as well, in a very safe position. Pounces on the first scribe from that second Nexus. Yeah, this is pretty good economic harassment. I love just leaving a few Zeths into different locations, forcing Indy to target what he wants to focus on. Now he's going to lose a lot more workers. This is much better from Mixu. However, keep in mind, all of his Zephyr Cores very wounded. Oh man, he's popped so many more workers than the last time. But the Warden is done, and it's in a very defensive spot. Mixu has a lot of Vespene in the bank. I'm guessing that's going to be for Nather Cores. However, he's just mostly making Droleth right now. I'm sure he'll remember how it felt to have the Protoss walk across the map with their first few gateway units and just start smashing him to pieces. So he pockets the Zeths. He'll use them for a run by later on, most likely. Maybe after the natural in particular starts to get saturated. Fast Zorkish Shroud and one Kagrant. He's being very greedy, honestly. Oh, Vorv's on the way. Okay, he's changing up his strat. The gas is going to be used for Shroud units, it seems. Maybe a few Nather Cores here and there to make Indy overcommit onto defensive positions inside his, resource line. Though I think on this map it would be kind of bad no matter what. He's kind of mucking about here, saying hi. Indy's like, wait, what? What are you even doing over there? They're navigating the terrain. Gotta watch out. Don't want to lose your Vorv. Ooh, the Ensnare actually helped him out there. Saved him. Saved him. Second Circuit is in production. We got 4 pairs of Nats, so I'm really not sure what the gas is going to be used for just yet. There goes one of the Vorvs. Cycling back away, but here comes the first of the gateway units. The Vorvs actually come in to try to get a little bit of something done in the mineral line of the natural, and it does seem like it's going to be successful. Indy is going to cancel the attack. Nather Cores are going to continue coming out in some significant number. Ecclesiasts are really good at anti-melee in general, because in order to attack, you have to be within the range of their passive, which restores shields to allies around the attacker, like or allies around the Nather Core that in this particular case. Trading one Nath for one Scribe isn't necessarily ideal, but he can get a much more favorable setup over here. He's picked one. Going after the Warden is questionable, particularly with the Ecclesiast right there, but he's reinforcing. Indy cycling away a little bit. Maybe if he goes after the Ecclesiast, it's a different story, but reinforcement Nather Cores are on the way. Second Warden pops. I mean, it's going to be very difficult. Especially with that red overlay, that indicates an attack speed buff. So it's good that Mixu falls away. That buff will run out shortly. He's trying his best to pick as many of those scribes as he can. Still trading one for one on the Nath to Scribe. A little bit worrisome, particularly when he's not ahead economically. But he's pretty close to the worker count. Problem is he doesn't have much military presence right now, if you follow. So he's going to start mining out the mineral path into his third base. You can see his Vorvs are still guarding that. The third base is Sans Geyser, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. But he is forcing Indy to commit a lot of resources to defend this mineral line here. Double Grand Library. Wouldn't expect anything less from Indy. We got Shambler and Thender in the chat. Hope you guys are doing well. Thanks to Thender for the Prime sub, by the way. Or not Thender, Shambler. If Thender does Prime sub now, though, that would be pretty funny. Now, I'm not sure he's going to realize that it's pathable now. I mean, I did try to make it obvious that it's visually different, but most people are just going to look at it and think it's still a mineral block. It doesn't deplete, sir. Right-click past it. Yeah! He knows! You can go right through it. You can do it, Mixu. I swear. Well, you can't go right through it now. Your Drillith is blocking, but you can. You can make base. Yeah! Yeah! So we are going up to our 4-gate style for Indy. Third base on the way faster for Mixu. This is going to look a little bit more like the Demaloon game, where Mixu had the economic advantage and used it to make a ton of units. I believe that's where we're headed. But our tech nodes are different this time around. Last time it was just Hydra. Now he's gone Pool, Vornath into Shroud. And he's making a lot of Lakes. He seems to enjoy that style. I like that Mixu is mixing it up. Not just because it kind of makes sense, you know, with his name and all that, but it's neat. It's cool. Nats may think that the Protoss army might have moved out by now, but the answer is no, they have not. More gateways being added. Oh man, this is a gateway explosion a little bit here for Indy if he adds more than 3. But even just adding 3, I mean, that's a lot to try to support on 2 bases. You can do it. Factoring in his Grand Library spends as well. And sometimes you got to just know that, like, actually, I floated 2,000 minerals last game. I can probably afford to just have, like, idle production every now and then, just so that if I do float that much, I can immediately make it active. A couple of these Lakes are not burrowed. It provides some vision at the very least, but it is potentially dangerous. 2 Ecclesiasts getting chipped out immediately. The Zethicors cycling back in. They see the Cantavis. Information for Mixu. Storm. Forcing an unburrow. Oh, Cantavis killing himself, maybe? Somebody killed him. Some Storm killed him. Zealots are going to get absolutely shellacked by this if they're not careful. Yeah, you can see them all falling, and the Cantavis on the front line, that's not where Indy wants to put them. The Draconans are still in pretty powerful number. Oh, another Storm. Onto those wounded Lakes. Actually, we're starting to run out of Zerg here. Zorius. The Zets and the Nats coming in from downtown, even one of the Vorvs from the OG days. Oh, he looks like he will narrowly hold on. Okay. But the Lakes are in very short supply now. And remember, those extra gateways mean that 7 Zealots a pop for Indy. He can still try to fight this. He's got to watch out for where his Storm goes, though. Oh, no. Pinned to the corner, pinned to the wall. Where is Zealots going to be going now? Third base is just for gas right about now for Mixu. No other workers present and accounted for. Wardens will help shoo away the Nats for now. Third Warden on the way. That's one of the last Vorvs bopped. The Zorius got to be respected, though. These big meaty boys can do a lot. I love the drill from Indy. I love that drill. Buying more time than you would expect for his Wardens. One of them is not going to finish. The other one will be torn asunder. And now the Lakes, they're mincing all these scribes. You can't keep these 2 players' score lines away from each other. It looks like we're going to go up to 2-2 here in a second. Indy's got a lot of money in the bank, but not a lot of ways to spend it, and he's lost all of the workers in his natural. The Zealots are trying to stand tall. The Cantavis is trying to take them all out, but the Storm, you can't chase the Storm, but you can chase the Cantavis. Even if he does clear this out, how is he possibly going to rebuild? Zorius. Last of them falls. There's so many Lakes, man. And there's no Argosy to bail you out. We got no Solarians, no carrier equivalent, and certainly no detection. I think we're going to see the tap out happen as the ramp is overrun. Mixu scores another one on the board. Well, I guess if this keeps going, Indy will narrowly win the lion's share of matches, but it's very interesting to see these two duking it out and being so close to each other. $30 a piece so far. Starting our engines here for our 5th map. We await Indy's selection. Right about now, though, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Oh, okay. We're going to Smarty Cakes' fridge, aka Heartbreak Ridge, on the ice tile set. Last time I saw this, it was Zeke picking it. I think it might have been against Wolfix. That's right, Sausage. Welcome to the chat. These are pretty damn good matches, dude. For people who just picked up the game, like, Mixu agreed to appear here yesterday, less than 24 hours before the actual show match. So big ups to him. He's putting on a great performance. Indy, I mean, he's a StarCraft 2 caster, pro gamer. Like, he's a cool guy for showing up. He's a cool guy for showing up. Maybe he can take the victory for his fellow Pole, Veek7 on the dev team. Their names are so close together in terms of character count that it's hard for me to know when one of them says ready versus one of them saying ready twice, which doesn't actually happen just yet, but still very funny. All right, guys, Game 5. This will mark the halfway point of our series. And we've got Mixu. He is in the top left, the eggshell blue. Zerg. Indy in the bottom right. We'll call it, 9 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Indy is in the bottom right as our ultramarine Protoss. Back to perfect color accuracy. Stealthily grabbing a sip of water here. Will Indy abate from his Nexus first? He has not changed his strategy yet when it comes to the early game. Mixu checking out the map layout, seeing what he can find. Heartbreak Ridge is an iconic StarCraft 1 map. Even though I wouldn't necessarily say it was the most balanced, it did provide some interesting games. And Cannoli has ported it to Cosmonarchy under the moniker Smarty Cakes' Fridge. Smart ass Ridge. Okay, Biddy B, I see you. Hey, hatch first for Mixu, and it looks like it will be Nexus first for Indy. Players are not going to be mincing their opportunities to go for that macro advantage. Mixu's really changed up his strategy a lot. That's very interesting to me. All right, back to the gateways. No real surprises there. What does Mixu want, though? Oh, baby. I don't see anything from Mixu that tells me what he's going to do just yet, but a more defensive Larvosk never hurt anybody. And there it is, coming down before the tech node. I mean, that's kind of interesting as it stands. He's pegged Indy as a guy who's not going to deviate from this Nexus first into Mass Gate. He has time to experiment. He has time to see what he wants to do. Oh, he canceled it. He canceled. Jeez. Shucks. Well, Hydra's on the way for him, so that's going to be his tech du jour. Or at least, I don't know how to say match in French. Hold on. Allumette. Tech du allumette. It's probably Mappa, actually. It would be like map. Cart? Tech du cart? Okay. You got it. Fucking French. 5-gate from Indy. He's belaying his Grand Library for a faster set of Zealot Ecclesiast, it looks like. I wonder if people are DMing him advice or something. Zealot does make contact with the enemy worker line. Good drill. Keeping the wounded one away. Nice control there from Miku. Miku? I guess it's the right color. Mixu. Watch out now. Deadly. Deadly. Ooh, he saves it. That was impressive. Well, can he save it from more? Hydras are now maybe a bit cornered here, focusing down the one Zealot on the ground. He's going to be heavily, heavily wounded here. Hasn't lost any workers yet still, though, to be fair, but he's lost all of his Hydras. Couldn't quite get his Hydras out of the way. Not used to having to path through the enemy. And through his own units, for that matter. Man, now he's losing a lot more Droleth. Overwhelmed, the Zealot Ecclesiasts are storming the gates. Indy is not leaving any room for doubt, any room for shenanigans. And what is up with them trading their own map picks, I wonder? This time around, it was Indy selecting this map, and it looks like he's got the right game plan. Make Zealot win game. The one Ecclesiast helping out as well. He's done a lot of damage to Mixu's economy. He's not out of it yet, though. The Hydras are starting to stabilize, and the reinforcements are trickling in at a more defeated pace. Still just going after those workers. Brilliant stuff here. He's forced a lot of Hydras. Now you're... Okay, remember Litmus. Remember Acid Test, where Indy was economically harassed in the early game and then had to just walk across the map and do damage. And that's what ultimately cemented the match in favor of him, it feels like. If there was any more room for Mixu to maneuver, he might have been able to come back into that game. It would go even longer than the 18 to 20 minutes that it ended up going. Now Indy has to prepare for the same thing. He's forced a ton of not worker units from the Zerg. Okay, what are we going to get from there? Time to find out. Really, Rokors were made. They didn't end up activating, but very cool nonetheless. Oh my god. Man's got a dozen Zealots, one of them leading the charge, the other 11. Ooh, this is actually pretty big. I mean, so the Really Rokors will time out if they're off of the Kagra, our creep name. But look at this, he chased down the one Zealot with his whole army. And now the Zealots are coming in from the force. This is the AI attack from StarCraft 1. They're just going to right-click that hatch. Try to drill him out, but I don't know if it's going to matter. That hatch is dead, man. You are a dead man. This is supposed to be the Fimble Winter. This is supposed to be an ice map where you think about the Ice Man. Mixu, though, he is not the Finnish sniper. Looks like Indy just walked in. Oh, yeah, get a little bit more value, why don't you? Couldn't even chase down this sucker. Sees that the hatch is being remade. He can sit pretty now, man. He's added more wardens. He's got his 5 gates, his grand library, adding a pylon for more build space. Second grand library. He's up to his usual antics. Third base in the top right. Going to be where he goes. All right. Well, it was already kind of bad, but then Mixu spiked back in workers. And then he lost his hatch. So he's probably feeling a little foolish. Ears burning. He's got to go up against the Cantavis. The Cantavis weren't here. I'd give the chance for the Hydras. But Indy's been pretty on point with his storm cycling. Picks a few Hydras on the extremity, using that Hierophant for excellent work. And it looks like he is selecting the front gate of Mixu's domain to once again attack through that choke point. The ridge itself, not a problem. The heartbreak is happening inside the natural, as it often does in this map. Man, he's got so much unit production. Indy's cycling back a little bit now. He's going to try to see if he can go around, confirm nothing at the bottom left. You can start to bop these. If you want to try to flank from around the back, but with such a large ground army, it might not be too useful. Oh, a deliberate Khazitra this time. Oh, well, maybe that wasn't exactly what you wanted. And he's going to have to cycle his Drakenins back, I feel like. He's going to dive forward anyway. Respect the Khazitra, my man. He probably doesn't know what that structure does, but hey, maybe he can still make it. Maybe Blind Faith will be enough to carry the day as the storm is so juicy on the bottom there, and it even pushes further forward. Okay, well, we don't have another one. Oh, it was good initially, but he ends up sending it in the wrong location. Still, that was so much better than I thought it would be for Indy. And I know I'm saying that as he's been forced away, but the Khazitra is such a huge defensive multiplier, and it wasn't focused at all. The storms were so good. If they were a little bit better, if he had one more up top above where the Khazitra was, that might have actually been a break. Sometimes you just... what you don't know helps you. Because I think most Cosmonarchy players would never think to attack there. But Indy doesn't know enough to change his mind. Oh, losing a Cantavis, though, that's pretty critical. Probably was close to full energy again. He's trying to cycle back and buy time for his next round of military units. Mostly Amaranths right now. His gateways are idle. His third base is where he's at with the Argosy once again. You can see the workers trying to path over here. But you can, in fact, just mine that out to reveal the path. He might not be as familiar with that mechanic. Saw Mixu demonstrated earlier on Valhalla Valley. Damn, son. Third base on the way for Mixu. He lost so many workers in the early game. Then he lost his hatch. Man's really come back. The Warden presence here isn't going to be so monumental, but it should delay long enough for other things to happen here. Wow, he's adding more defense. Did he have to blow up his Wardens? I think maybe for unit pathing. He might have to blow this one open, too. Worker's still struggling. Well, that was a nice little predictive storm. Daring him to step forward. Zealots, Hierophants. A Solarian is on the way. Going back to what he had. The Burrow is a bit of a call-out. I don't know if Indy spotted that. He probably would be casting Storm if he did, to be fair. Mixu mentioned that he might want to do Burrow Micro, and I've never seen it work in the way that it sounded like he meant in Cosmonarchy, but I'm happy to see a little bit of a different story. A reasonable Storm. Blanketing a few of those Hydras, forcing him to disengage. Just trying to buy time, and the Wardens are placed well enough for that particular purpose. He's got reasonable pathing right now for his army out of the ground. One Solarian isn't necessarily going to turn the tide, but if he can keep it secret enough to get 2 to 3, it will be in business. Fourth base in the top left. And Mixu's starting to set up shop over here. He's having the same worker trouble on the other side of it. Oh, dear. Well, at least it's even. Can't claim map him, but you both have the problem. And you can either blow up the Sanctum of Sorrow, or you can just mine the minerals. Either one would work. First Solarian has arrived. Second one on the way. Indy has not discovered the Crucible just yet, but he is adding 3 more gateways. He'll be going up to a total of 8. Something he can definitely support on this amount of resources. In fact, he could probably drop another Crucible, or another Argosy, rather. Certainly should drop a Crucible, but I don't predict that he will. Looks like the workers have been manually corrected away for Mixu. Not something that Indy has elected to do. To their credit, though, I will point out, like, there's so much going on and so many plates you have to spin. I'm not at all surprised that, you know, he just hasn't noticed that. Some Zephyr cores reveal themselves, revealing to us that the pool has been made. He's actually making Quaz? That's interesting. Solarian also shows itself at the top left. That's kind of a... That is quite the threat. The Hydras are going to try to come in and go for it, but he's got to preemptively set some units over here in the main base, particularly as this ends up getting scouted. The hatch will likely die. That's not really the biggest problem, though. The problem is that the Solarian can just move right into here, and there's no defense. It's a simple enough move from Indy, but Mixu was not predicting it and not prepared for it. He's going to finish off that pylon, starting some Spraiths, but it'll be some time before they show up. And now the Protoss army on the ground, descending to the bottom left. Mixu caught between a rock and a hard place. He's making Hydras. He can isolate that single Solarian easily enough, but... Oh, the Storm and the choke point. It's so good! He's even letting him follow. Oh my god. Indy, though, just finding his way in. He even kept a little bit of a force to that choke point, and this force is likely isolated out. You know, he loses the Cantavis. The Hydras are going to clear in house. But he's lost the hatch. He's lost the gas mining in the main base. He's lost his third base. He's back down to 1. Resetting top left. Big remax here from Indy. If he crushes this Zerg force, which Mixu has not been microing very well to try to deal with that, if he's actually able to clothesline all these Hydras, there is no defense. He's making skiths, but that's not what you need. You need the evolution of that, buddy. Now he's got to contend with the reinforcements, including another Solarian, including 2 Cantavis. GG! Absolute GG! Indy will take another one. And they just keep ping-ponging along. I'm chuckling a little bit because as soon as we hit the score screen, I had a new message from Mixu. So we'll see how that one goes. That was honestly well played for Mixu to keep it deadly, keep it doing. Wild scenes, ladies and gentlemen. And wilder they may yet get. Update our score on Twitch and our predictions and all of that in just a moment here. I think mostly that last game was lost on positioning, more than composition in particular. But it was a very interesting set of matches. It was a very interesting little dynamic back and forth there. And so we'll see where we go from there. But I'm excited to see what's up next, right? Like, where are we going? Where are we going with this? Where are we going with this? When are we going to see the map Maelstrom? Oh, shit. That would be pretty wacky. Was Maelstrom an original, or did you port it from something, Biddy B? Because, obviously, if it's a StarCraft 1 map port, it qualifies for these show matches just based off of player familiarity. Make them pick Oil Australia. Yeah. Game map 9 is Oil Australia Uprising 1v1. Yeah, good luck. Ooh, okay, we get a StarCraft 2 map port. We're going to go to our port of Oceanborn. Tsunami. Selected by Jujic. Made by Jujic, rather. Selected by Mixu. Mixu just gets replaced by Jujic halfway through. You know how it goes. Our players are joined the lobby. Mixu has already selected his race and said ready. Indy is dialing himself in, getting himself ready. Probably checking the map preview. All right, lads, map 6 is upon us. Welcome to Tsunami. We have in the bottom right, Indy. This underwater map, you could think of it as, although we don't have all those fancy screen effects and weird, wonky space whales flying around. It's not quite like StarCraft 2 in that respect, but, you know, it's pretty cool. Indy in the bottom right is our... It's hard to actually pick this color. I'm going to just say it's blue. It is, blue Protoss. Mixu in the top left is our maroon Zerg. Oh, it was blood. The color's definitely funky looking on this map, so it's extra hard for me to guess. But that's all right. So this map, Tsunami, is indeed a port of Oceanborn. Jujic has done it. It's one of our 3 StarCraft 2 map ports currently. Instantly going for the hatch first here, Mixu is. We got 2 gates from Indy. He's not Nexus firsting! Oh my god! How could you do this, Indy? How could you do this to us? Making 2 gateways. I mean, we'll see if Mixu can hold. It's definitely going to be a different look. We haven't seen this map layout too much, but it is an interesting one. The choke point's pretty wide, so that's why there's this burning gateway here. Helps deal with that. We also have Monuments of Sin. Shortening these ramps and walling these ramps entirely. And of course, several bases. That's a hallmark of the StarCraft 2 map ports. Obviously, StarCraft 2 maps typically have more bases than StarCraft 1 maps. You expand faster, you have more workers at the start, etc., etc. So, you are going to have more bases on average, and I think that's a fine thing to add in. Like, if I have my way, if it ends up being a really good map, you know, Tsunami, Oneros, Magnetron, if they can end up qualifying as Class 1 maps, and I'm not the sole arbiter of that decision, that's a lot of community sentiment as well, you know, bearing into that. Whether or not it creates good games, as a matter of course, bears into that. There we go. There's the much later Nexus than we were used to. Mixu is going without a tech node. It looks like he wants to go for Hydrith Den, but the Zealot is already more than halfway across the map. This is dangerous. Legionnaires on the way now. Indy will be reinforcing his 3 Zealot push. No tech node yet. Hydrith Den in the natural. This is danger. Danger, danger. Let's make a circuit, buddy. Oh, he doesn't want to. He's holding strong. He wants... Okay, now he's going to do it. See if he can maybe drill onto that Zealot. It's an awkward angle to try to get the drill going. It will actually finish. Buy him a little bit of time. Rilla Rokor's on the way. Glad that he's found that button. He's going to go ahead and make an extra one. Flash shielding will now kick in for Indy's Zealot. And it does regress back into a Kagrant. The Rilla Rokors aren't super good at straight up fighting. They need a little bit of support. That's where these Drollettes are coming in. Oh, the Legionnaires are coming in as well to poke. Oh, the circuit doesn't quite finish. He started up the other one, the Hydrith Den. It's almost done. Oh, it's taking so long. Man, with these StarCraft 2 map ports and the game's ending so quickly. Well, I guess it wasn't the case on Tokamak, but it certainly has been on Tsunami historically. Indy's not giving him any room, any wiggle room. We only have Rilla Rokors being made. He's got such a huge gas bank and mineral bank, but he doesn't actually have anything that he can do with it. All of his larvae being used on broodlings. Oh dear. Attack speed reduction, armor reduction, etc. It's helpful, but it's not it. He's not stemming the tide fast enough. His den's been done for a while, and he's not making any Izira cores to go with this. That would be the ticket item. And also maybe a more instantaneous set of defenses. Your margin is so slim when you're up against this kind of thing. GG. Indy will take his first advantage in the series, finally putting a decisive lead in the cards. Zerg Bully Stream, says Arbuz. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. That was the first time Indy didn't open Nexus first. And boy, howdy, was it a well-timed one. We got Chumbecca in there. What's going on? The Legionnaire portrait and the Ecclesiast portrait are both custom, done by Solstice. Very nice work, if you ask me. Yeah, if that last game was not a way to say, oh god, I need to be more defensive, I don't know what is. But to Mixu's credit, Indy's open Nexus first every game. Like it's to the point where, you know, you stop scouting for it, you stop expecting anything else. Biddy says he's not sold on StarCraft 2 ports, but with the +1 range instead of 2 on high ground, I think it's more feasible. Yeah, maybe Typhon was made back before that was done. That is technically another StarCraft 2 adaptation. I forget what map that was originally based on. Oh my god! What a lunatic! What an absolute madman! Lads, Mixu has selected Neiman's Land. What even is this a port of? It translates to No Man's Land, but I need to go find the... I need to go find the wiki image. Oh. Well, that's definitely not right. It says it was based on Litmus, but that's just a bad copy-paste. Okay, I did remember correctly. It was Bake Magoji. Goatest map in the pool, says Dog. Well, this is going to be a wacky one. He goes Valhalla Valley and he picks Neiman's Land. The People's Champion. All right, lads, we're getting into our next map here. Map number 7, I believe. Oh, no, it's map 6, isn't it? I don't remember. We'll take a look in a second. But we have Indy in the bottom left. Yeah. Yep. Mixu in the top right is our vivid red. Oh, it's Vermilion again. Indy in the bottom left is just it's blue. It's blue. Blue Protoss. I don't know what I've picked. I just can't imagine. I can't imagine what they must be thinking. Well, it looks like Indy might want to go for some kind of proxy, which, you know what, I don't blame him. You can see this neutral circuit provides Kagra for the Zerg players, and it does not provide it for the Protoss players. Oh, okay. Pool opening. No gas yet for Mixu. The proxy is on the way. Dirty Protoss. Proxy on Baked Bagoji? Yep, absolutely. I believe maybe Baked Magoji is like a regional place that's like a part of the DMZ between the two Koreas. I think that's what I remember reading about. Holy proxy 3-gate. Well, if it works, it works. But that's why I called it Neiman's Land, which is obviously no man's land. Indy does not want to play on this map, that's for sure. or he does. Or he's really having fun. I don't know which. 4-gate proxy! All right, see ya. Back to work. No scouting needed. I'm going to scout with my proxy 4-gate. Beautiful. This is probably the correct way to play Neiman's Land, let's be real. Defensive circuit. Interesting placement for that. Oh, okay. Oh, I think I see what he's doing. He's deliberately doing that in case the rush hits, and then he cancels it. All right, it's going to be double Zealot and a Legionnaire. Pair of Zeths are on the way. Will they go right across the map to scout? Of course. You would never... I don't think that proxies are uncommon, right? Like, they are very common in StarCraft 2. But it's a show match. You're not playing StarCraft 2. You're playing something else. You don't really... Like, what are you really going to expect? Like, he's not going to preemptively scout for this. So, here we go. Zeths are going to come in here and see. Let's see. What does he see? Yeah, go in. Go in deeper. Go in deeper. Ah. There's nothing here. I'm already in your base. All right. Let's see what he's got. A whole lot of nothing right now. The dirty shenanigans for the 5th map win. Let's see if Mixu can at all defend this. I feel like the answer is absolutely no way. He was making Droleth until the bitter end, so... Now he's going to make some Quas and some Rilla Rokor. That Kagrin is not long for this world. First combat units are out. It's just Broodling, right? Just Rilla Rokor. They don't last very long. All of his workers are just about to... Indy actually doesn't have that many workers, so they're even in workers right now. Poor guy must be feeling all down in the dumps. It was neck and neck, tit for tat. And then Indy found the gateway button before his Nexus, and it was over. Gee. I love that. Well, that is a map that you will never see again. It was nice knowing you, Neiman's Land. I don't think anybody's going to make that mistake again, or maybe they are. But nonetheless, Indy scores another dub and has now won the majority of the matches, but we play out the rest for money anyway. Unless, you know, I'm pretty sure we will. Let's find out together. All right. So that was indeed map 7. We have 2 more maps to be played, 8 and 9. Mixu can narrow the lead down to 1, where Indy will just edge him out. Or we will go for Indy getting the lion's share of the map wins. Not sure yet what's going to happen there. That is the Zerg Bully stream. 12 scribes, less eco than a standard map. Yeah, yeah. It's not the greatest eco, because you have to factor in the half-depleted minerals will deplete faster and thus be less good. Like, it's not a... I don't think it's a functional map, to be honest with you guys. I wouldn't recommend it. But I also didn't expect the proxy 4-gate. And it's possible that Mixu would have been dropped regardless of what he did. Serve yourself a glass of water and the game was already over. Welcome back. Proxy 4-gate, dude. It's really good. On Neiman's Land. We're going to go to Brainstorm for our next map. The Port of Bluestorm. This one's also a pretty, balls to the wall map, but it's a little bit more standard. You love to see it. Opening half of the show match was very, very nice. Very good. These last few games have been a little bit more on the one-sided affair. And there was one-sided game for Mixu's first win, actually. But here we are, on to Brainstorm. Indy in the bottom, or top right, rather. He is our, Maya Blue? Neon Blue. That's a cool color. And Mixu in the bottom left. I wonder what he is, actually. Auburn. Auburn Zerg. There you go. I also thought about mahogany and wine, but it's a little bit more brown than purple. All right. So Indy has finally decided to vary up the strategy book. Not going Nexus first as often. And there's the gateway. This is a map with no ramp. So many memories with this map. Oh, Indy recognizes it. Mixer's hoping to make some positive memories with it right now, actually. Kagrant first, so it looks like he wants to open Larvosk. And maybe go for some kind of tech node after. With Zealots and Carriers, I don't need to look too far back. There it is. Larvosk first, maybe Pool after. Before Neiman's Land was selected and we had a proxy 4-gate, I did let Mixu know, because Mixu was asking me questions about it. I did let Mixu know, he's like, it seems like I need Hydrith to fight Gateway. And I was like, well, typically it's been Zeth Vorv and, that kind of spam out of the small units in order to make things work. And that has defeated Gateway a lot in the right numbers. And so then I told him about how, you can make really road cores, but they'll die off of Kagra. You need the Zoryus in order to keep them going. And he said, thanks, I'll try something. Now, he didn't get to try it in the last map, but it bears repeating that he may be indeed trying something. Is that just going to go down kind of late? The pool will be done very shortly. Oh, is he scouting instead? Interesting. He sees the little brain drain there. The Zealot will be revealed by the Droleth, so that's actually really good. Good little forewarning there for Mixu. Definitely needs his Zethra cores out. Oh, he's making Quas. Yeah, in small numbers, Zealots won't be able to overpower the Quas, per se. He's going to get the Droleth all the way through. First Zealot has arrived. Some static defense being assembled, and the Zeth and Quas are out. He actually cancels that one. Zealots have been kept at home. The Nexus has been scouted. He knows that this isn't an all-in play, like it was in the last game. So Mixu is going to be able to stabilize here. Fighting for $10 for every win. And, respect. Respect to your peers. First casualty has yet to arrive. We do have the Treasury blocking the Brain Trust, as it is, blocking the one Zealot, although he will come back in, pocketed. There's a lot of Zealots over here. You're not really going to be able to break through that, I feel like, but maybe we'll be proven wrong in the open ground. Zealot is starting to heckle the worker line. Let's see how long it takes for Mixu to notice. No kills yet. Man, there hasn't been a casualty just yet on either side, and I feel like this Zealot might be our first one. He's looking for any action he can get. He finds the right Droleth. Oh, just narrowly not able to make it through. Warden being put down here at the natural for Indy. He hasn't inspected any of the other static defense options that his race can enjoy. And the later hatch, I mean, Mixu might feel under the pump, but this is not a million miles away from how typical Cosmonarchy ends up looking in this matchup, where early aggression from Protoss, try to manage the Zerg in the early stages, and then they expand out later after they break out of it. Obviously, the specifics are very different here, but that's all right. Shroud coming, a third Larvosk likely going to be behind it, as a lot of workers are being made. Mixu just needs to make sure he doesn't lose his army here, and he should actually be in a fine position. Canceling out that third Grand Library for more gateways instead. Okay. Not a whole lot of production just yet, but it is coming. Maps to test your pathfinding, too, is a good way to describe Brainstorm, to be honest. Capped his ridge in both bases. Poking in to see what he can do. Loses a Zeth for his trouble, but he's able to scout the Grand Libraries at the very least. Got a couple Zeths pocketed away. There is no defense in the main base, but it is kind of difficult to stab into air without, you know, taking a pathway that isn't occupied. Particularly if Indy secures his third base, then you can really only attack it from, like, the drop zone over here. But right about now, if Mixu wanted to go for drops or something, he could. 2 Lakes are being made. I'll keep an eye out for any Ovoleths. We do have Cantavis on the way. That's been what Indy has relied on versus the burrowed Zerg, is just storming and running up on top of them. The Zealots are actually going to clear these pocketed Zeths, so we'll see what the reaction time is of our Oh, maybe not. He might not have noticed. Cantavis have better sight range, so you'll see more dots on the map than that. Canvassing the map, looking for proxies, looking for any extra bases that are being pocket taken by our Protoss. They kind of fly past each other there. Ooh, Cantavis going out in the middle. That could be pounced on by Mixu. Let's see how active he really is. Realizing what's going on here. Needs to cycle away. Now the Zets start to activate. We just have a couple of units coming in from the rally, but they're on rally, right? They're not actually on attack move, so that's going to cause some chaos. Mixu falling back. Oh, look at this. The Lake is setup is good. Warden was warped in, so it's going to be a little bit of a problem there for unfettered attacking. The Quals are not going to get away, but the Zealots aren't going to get through that game either. Been a shockingly low casualty game so far. We had to wait several minutes for the first corpse to hit the ground anyway. Now the Nexus is spotted by the last standing Zeth by the third base. So we know the economic development is going to continue favoring our Protoss, but Mixu has a plan. He is a man with a plan. Wasn't able to clear the Warden. There's 2 Zealots parked over there as well. He's just going to come back in for a scout. Maybe a heckle. Force some kind of reaction. Taking care of 12 o'clock as well with that Zeth. And yeah, you're not going to be able to attack down into here, but at the same time, you're not going to be able to expand into here. Now, the Lakers are pushing forward. That is a dead Cantavis. Oh, the fadeaway. That is brilliant. Okay, well, that's what you get when you make a metric crap ton of Lakers. And you get the burrows off in the right times. I'm a little bit worried for Indy, but we'll see how he manages. This is kind of looking like StarCraft 1 PvT, where they're trying to force sieges and unsieges and slow them down while they build up some kind of defense that can actually do something about this. Clotheslined on the way down. Zealot count is starting to dwindle. This is all that Indy has out here on the map right now. He's got Wardens and stuff, but he's going to be under the pump for this base. Impossible to defend, it feels like. There's more defense where that came from. More Lake is where that came. Mixu is mono-comping Lake, as it feels like right now. Is he going to be punished for it? No air units on the way just yet. Nothing that can produce them. He's starting to add Zorius. He's going to need to send something to defend that. Maybe he's just going to clean it up with his units off the back, but there you go. Some Lakers are spawning. Just go ahead and give him a quick burrow. He can remake those Droleth, no problem. He also has a crazy amount of minerals in the bank anyway. Now his Lakers are starting to saunter off elsewhere. There's a lot of room here for Mixu to get some action and do some dastardly things. His first Ovoleth is done. One Lake is drop. Okay. So he's going to earmark that for the gas over here most likely, and that will force some kind of outsized reaction. Oh. So we have the Ulgorg Cavern And we have an Argosy starting inside the main base here for Indy. I did tell Mixu that one thing you can try is the fully upgraded Gorga Core. Looks like that's exactly what he's going to try. The Lakers are going to burrow to try to cause some problems. Oh, this is where most of the ground army is for Indy. Keep in mind his force is very small. And they're just going to walk right around it. The Cantavis unlikely to get away. That is a heartbreaker. He gets the one go. He needs those Lakers to burrow. If Mixu can get a very entrenched position here with the burrow, it'll be all she wrote for this third base. Oh my goodness. They don't do incidental splash to the treasuries either, so this isn't even easier for Indy to break through eventually with his ground army. He's trying to bide time. His Argosy is not done yet. Gorga Cores are on the way. Oh my god, this is very difficult. The drop is good initially. Ooh, he pulls away from the Warden. You can't really do anything about that by revealing it with your Scribe. Crafty play from Indy, but better done from Mixu. He's just going to storm down this ramp with nothing but Lakers, and there's not really anything to stop it. The first Solarian is on the way, but I think Mixu's just about cracked it, man. That Nexus is done. Storms are coming out to try to help out a little bit. Can't quite see him, though. Ah, too close to the spines. Now we got him burrowed at the front gate. Yeah, this one feels like it is crumbling. There's so many Lakers. They're coming out the walls at this point. Unpowered Wardens. The Zealots try to clear the brain drain. But there's Gorgs where that came from. And we only have the one Cantavis remaining. Everything taken away. Adaptations for Mixu's third map win in the show match. Seems all but decided. Lattice. Spam Lattice and go for the Solarian. But I don't think it's going to quite work out. He doesn't have a lot of anti-air, but GG is called. Indy will concede. He knows that he's just going to get overrun. There is no salvaging that one. Shopdog is right to report in the chat that Indy is kind of crazy with it when it comes to his Storm pull and retreat. Most Protoss don't do that because it obviously costs a little bit of energy to recast, but it's actually pretty damn good. If you can do it, you can almost fire and forget it. All right, this is our final map pick. We are waiting Indy's selection. And boy, is it going to be a good time. Because we are going to Coup de Grace. Another Class 3 map, by the way. Class 3 means absolutely bamboozled and wild. We've had that, Valhalla Valley, and Neiman's Land all in the same goddamn show match. I can't believe it. But here we go. Lobby is up, and I will go ahead and get our scores ready. Indy and Mixu are locking in one last time. One last set of $10 dues. And it's on Coup de Grace? Dude, this map is so wild. All right, let's get ready. Here we go. Oh, here we don't go. He's a little bit late. He's a little bit late. Don't worry, it's nothing. He's playing with a bit of a handicap. Mixu in the top left. He is our Zinwaldite Brown Zerg. Indy in the bottom right. Teal Protoss. This is a wild map, okay? Rush distance ain't that high, particularly for air units. Not that we've seen fast air from anybody, really. The choke point here has some eggs that block pathing and block construction, so that's a fun one. And the middle of the map, I mean, well, there's a lot of blocked pathways and stuff. You're basically on a pseudo-island here where you cannot escape, so you get one base each. You get this wacky base in the middle with low minerals, so at double gas. And that's it. You want to expand? Tear down the structures or drop. Coup de grace, according to Arbuz Budesh. Yeah, that... Listen, I'm not going to come... I will not say no to that decision, to that term. I will not say no. We've got a double gate set up here for Indy. He's going to be going back to that angle of attack. He does not want to be going Nexus first, and I don't blame him on a map like this. Looks like Mixu has decided he wants to do Larvosk Hatch this time. No, he pulls back. Oh, no. He's going to harvest instead. Okay. Or not. Maybe he just didn't know how much money he needed for the Larvosk. That might have been what he was waiting for. But it will be Larvosk Hatch. This is dangerous. Remember last time it was a little bit safer because he expanded later. Feels like it's just a little bit of a... it's a slim timing, right? Because he's going to need... The first Zealot's out. He's going to need something to hold it back. And he doesn't have any tech nodes. And he's pretty far from affording one. I guess he can make a Hydrith soon, if that's what he wants. But he really needs to make something that will defend him. And he's just making Droleth. Zealot sauntering through. Second one. No, that's a Scribe. He wants to expand behind it. 2-gate into expand. There's that egg that can serve as a bit of a blocker for unit movement. The Hatch doesn't see it because the Hatch vision range is pretty low. Pool is starting. So, okay. He's gone for the faster to make pool. Faster to make tech node. He is going to need to deal with this first Zealot moving across the map. Another one. 2 of them, in fact, are on the way. Drill, not successful just yet. He was setting up his static defense, losing one Droleth early, not boding super well. Pulls away at a great time to defend that extra one. Ooh, we got to be careful about that guy. Some Rilla Rokors are out to try to chase him away, but he's got to respect and stay on the Kagra. 1 egg making Rilla Rokors. I mean, the 3 Zealots over there aren't going to be too accosted by it anyway. Yeah, he's watching them disappear because they're off of the Kagra with the timed life. One of them scoots back. Flora's lava. Pool is done. Goes for the Zethrakors. The eggs, kind of decolliding the Zealots there for a second was pretty good, actually. Maybe try to tax the attention of Indy a little bit. Spawn camping the eggs, though. Well, let's see. The Zets are out. He can try to dance around. He's got another one coming. He's making more Zets where that came from, but he needs a hell of a lot more than that, to be honest. Attacking him while he's going after the Hatch is good. Now, there's a good isolation. Already picked off 1 Zealot. 1 more returns. He's going to be able to narrowly miss out on killing another one. It's a micro battle, and it's not looking like it's Zerg favored right now. Lattices are coming up from Indy. I think he might want to go for Vassals as a send-off here. Quads are pretty good versus them. Losing the Hatch, it honestly isn't the end of the world, although the Nexus is up, and Indy is starting to spike his economy. So he pulls away, feeling like he's done enough. The remake of the Hatch is going to be nigh. More Kagrans. What for, I'm not yet sure. And what are we going to make? Of course, Vassals are on the way. If we don't get a scout from Mixu soon, and it doesn't coincide... Oh, I didn't know that Zeth could fit through there. Well, that's pretty cheeky, actually. Mixu might be able to do something with that. Is he going to be able to fit through this one, though? Oh my god, he can, actually. Well, there you go. Yeah, that shows you how often we've played this map, because that wouldn't be deemed valid. We would change it. But nonetheless, I mean, it's not mattering too much right now. He's basically just taking a longer, more circuitous route. The Vassals are leaving the building. He's got 6 of them already. He wants to swoop in with a ridiculous amount. If we don't get Nathrakors, if we don't get Quas preemptive, we are going to struggle here. Vassals will pop out. Is he going to be watching when it does happen? The answer is yes. He sees the air units. What does he want to do with that? Zet's continuing to find value. Now here comes the attack. He can burrow. People don't think about burrowing their workers, but he can burrow. And his Zets, he could have maybe tried to go after some of those Zealots, but the Zets are just falling back. He's making a Spraith with that spare Kagrit that he had, but he's losing almost every worker. He's going to go down to no workers. And he will lose this hatch, almost assuredly. All of his mineral bank spent. He's made the Quas. Actually, most of the Zealots aren't with this army, which is kind of funny. But they are coming. I never thought I would cast pro players on coup de grace, but here we are. Absolutely wild. Indy was trying to see if his units could fit through there. Answer is no. And Mixu is down to 3 workers. He's making pure Zeth Quas. Honestly, it's not doing too bad for him. The Zealots are starting to break through as the Zeths start to falter. How efficient can you be? No really Rokors here to rend the armor. The Quas are still doing okay, but the Golems have arrived. GG. He doesn't even know what those units do, but he knows that he's been bested. And Indy takes another map win. That will be his 6th map win. And we have back-to-back 1v1 show matches that go the same way. 6-3 by the end of it. Big ups to Indy and Mixu for popping in on short notice for Mixu. And, Indy having to play against a Zerg player instead of a Terran player, since it was originally going to be Euthermal joining us. And a very, very impressive performance. I want to say from both players, I know it feels like a cop-out to say that when it's a 6-3 scoreline. Indy doubled his score. Indy did do better. But navigating the Zerg matchup, it can be really tricky. It doesn't play quite like StarCraft 1 Zerg. It doesn't play quite like StarCraft 2 Zerg. And Mixu still did really nicely. He had so many Lakes in Brainstorm. He played Litmus really well, I thought, even though it didn't go his way. And he obviously, he rushed him down on Demaloon. Some memorable victories here for both players. Litmus was it was kind of a slugfest. It was a bit of a knuckle buster, as they call it. Slobber knocker, as Artosis once said. But that will do it for our show match, which means we get to ring in the man, the myth, the Indy, who has found himself finding most of the victories here. So shout out to him. He gets his little show match music playing again. It was a grand time to see them do some gaming. And we'll see if they want to try a little bit of talk. If they don't, that's also fair. But if they do, I'm all for it. It turns out Nexus First was pretty good for tit for tat, but then Gateways. Gateways, man. Gateway, man. I also really am impressed with Indy's Storm. Like he was storming like nobody's business. And remember, like he's a StarCraft 2 player, which doesn't mean that he's going to be worse at StarCraft 1 spellcasting, but you would expect it, that the ability usage with the point and clicks and stuff is kind of wild for that sort of thing. Like very, very different. So I'm interested in that. And we'll see when Indy wants to join us for a little interview. It looks like he is down to do so. All right, let's hear from him. Hello, Sir Indy. Congratulations on your victories here. You end up with 6 wins, which is $70. How are you feeling after that?
Nice, beautiful. I'm very happy about that, obviously. I practiced a little bit, like I made a custom game a few times to figure out maybe an opening, like the optimal economy and what units do. And I made a lot of units, but frankly, a lot of them were... I couldn't think straight out what possible scenario would be to use them, so I didn't saw a lot of varieties, but I tried to polish a few things, and like I approached it as kind of like StarCraft Brood War or sometimes StarCraft 2 game.
Yeah, it was really interesting that you started with Nexus First for so many matches. Obviously, it gave you a huge leg up when you eventually changed from that, because at that point, Mixu was just decided, yeah, he's going to Nexus first every game. That's fine. And then when you didn't, you got a huge advantage. But even before that, what made you decide to go Nexus first? And did you expect that? I mean, the other thing I should ask before I even ask about Nexus first, thinking about it, is, were you originally expecting Terran? Because we thought Euthermal would be joining us for this one, and instead it ended up being Mixu. So did you get thrown for a loop at all that you had to face off against Zerg?
Oh, no. Well, today or yesterday, I believe, you said it's going to be Mixu, so I just joined the games, and I was thinking about how I would play against Zerg in Brood War, and usually you would go the as quick Nexus as possible. That was the logic, the Forge Fast Expand, obviously. So that's why I was thinking, well, usually the players don't know like the perfect rush, because obviously we don't play Cosmonarchy regularly. Right. So I was like, okay, the usual winning strategy is to get the best possible economy, and obviously you can't have better one if you don't start with Nexus. So I was like, okay, Nexus first. Let's try this, and let's do some optimizations. If I were to lose, I will change it. And yeah, that's where I had an idea. So well, I also realized that third base is very hard to get. And I was naive enough to think that Zerg needs third base. So,
yes.
So I was like, oh, okay, if I'm gonna play Nexus first and then push a lot, then I should have an advantage. But I didn't know lurkers are this insane. So yeah, that was yeah. I still don't know how to beat mass lurkers, frankly, even if I have an advantage. So maybe with air. So that was my idea on the last map a little bit.
Right, going vassals, right.
I have no... I still don't even... I'm unsure how the detection works, because when my zealots go above lurkers, they can see that. So I need to be very close, I assume. But is there other detection?
Yeah, if you made the embassy, which has the Forge graphic, you can make observer. It's called witness here, but you can make that.
Ah, it's in the Forge.
Yes, okay. Nobody would expect that if they didn't look at the website a lot or study or whatever. But that's where it comes from. Is you can do that. You make your shuttle there. A couple of other things there. Flying workers.
I saw flying workers. Yes. So. Flying workers? What?
Yeah. You got Protoss has flying workers, and they don't need the town center. They just warp the resources back after they harvest it.
Whoa!
So they're pretty good, but they are expensive. They're gas expensive.
That's insane. How much do they cost?
I think it's 50 of each, maybe 75 minerals, 50 gas. Let me take a look.
Ah, okay. So it's after you get third base, probably, or
something. Oh, it's actually only 25 gas. But yeah. You can get a lot there. The other unit you can make from that is a unit that it's a worker that doesn't harvest resources, but it makes structures, and it has the pylon field around it, so you can just move around and warp stuff in. But that's a little bit more niche. People haven't found good uses for that yet. But I think it's pretty good for like setting up bases without needing to wait for the pylon or whatever. So. It can be done.
Yeah, if they are cheap, there's certainly some use case I could think about, especially on some weird maps.
Yes, there were a lot of weird maps in this selection. I was not expecting some of those. But if we cycle back real quick, you started things off on the Tokamak port. And I don't know, like, the thing is, it's such a different game, StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2, and Cosmonarchy is still different even from those two. So did the StarCraft 2 maps, like, we played on that map, and we also played on Tsunami, which is the port of Oceanborn, did they feel like the StarCraft 2 versions, or did you just kind of dispense with that, like, whatever, I kind of know this layout? Did it feel at all comparable?
It all felt Brood War to me, more like than StarCraft 2. So when I was younger, I was playing all these maps, like Blue Storm. I forgot the name on the... what was it called? Blue Storm as well in the here?
Oh, a Brainstorm here, and then there was Heartbreak Ridge port, which was also there as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah. I remember that one. So yeah, it feels Brood War, but I don't know what's with the High Templars, because they have different name, right? But
yep.
But I feel like Storm is like I was throwing Storms a lot, and very often they wouldn't cast, or like the High Templar wouldn't go a bit forward to throw them. So I always had to target within the range, otherwise it wouldn't cast. So that was very weird.
You may not even. So we thought you were doing some of this storm work intentionally because it was really good. Like it was doing good damage.
Yeah, some of that was intentional. The moving storm. Yeah,
right,
yeah, of course.
So that's what happens is when you recast, it moves, and so if it was already active, they channel it, so they can only do one. So you get one storm per Cantavis per Templar. So sometimes if it was like further than that,
so I need to cancel it every time. Okay.
If you want it to be in a completely new location, but if you want it to move, which you were doing properly, I thought that was really good. We were impressed with that for sure. Your storm usage.
Some of them were intentional.
yeah. There's some good ones, good fadeaways. Obviously, there was also a number of times where you were using it for trying to counter the lurker, right? You're thinking about like using storm there, and so that can be tricky because in Cosmonarchy, the lurker spines, they go to the end, their target, and then they come back. It's a boomerang shot. So that was a lot of the times you were taking double damage because if you don't dodge it, right? So it's like the Protoss has moving Psystorm and lurkers have boomerang attacks. There's everything a little bit different. Do you have any like broad impressions about Cosmonarchy now that you've played it? Like, you're a busy man, and it was really awesome to have you for the show match. But setting aside potential scheduling, would this be something you'd want to play more of? Like, do you have like positive or negative impressions? Anything that you feel like sharing with us? Because we're always looking for interest, like people who really know RTS games and particularly StarCraft RTS games to get that feedback going. So if you have anything you'd like to share, feel free to.
I really liked Brood War. I still do, as I play it occasionally on the stream as well. So, I enjoyed that one as well. I would need more time to like see all the units and everything because there's like 3 times as many units, I believe.
Yeah.
Or like I don't know.
Each race has 50 units. 4.
Yeah, so. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even use like 10 probably. So feedback-wise. Well, I like the responsiveness because it's so much more responsive than Brood War. The units don't derp around, and you can clearly see that in the game. I'm unsure. Well, as you asked, I would love to play more, of course, but because I'm competitive person, so whenever there's like a show match and I have time, obviously, then I will be glad to play because it's even though I'm like over 30, I still remember all the emotions when I compete. So
right, of course,
really like that. I'm always up for that, and it's also nice content for the viewers.
It is. It's great content. Yeah, it's funny because Vik, Raffle is his first name. He's also from Poland, and it's a little early birthday present for him. He's turning up in 2 days, so it was cool. I'm sure he was very happy because he's a longtime viewer of yours. I'm sure he was very happy to see that, queued up in his YouTube watch later or something. The thing is, though, you're right that like even people think that when you're older, and I just turned 31 myself a few days back, so we're kindred spirits there, same age. But I will say that people think that when you're older, you just kind of stop wanting to compete. It's definitely not the case. Like, it actually is the opposite. You build up all of this like experience, and you're like, I want to add more. I want to get more in. So at least that's how I feel. So, but pretty cool stuff, man. It was really cool to see your storm style in particular, and the fact that you went for carrier. What was the thought process behind that, if I may know? Because that's what I want to know, is like that's such a hard unit to beat for Zerg in particular, because they like the tech that they have access to at that stage, they have to really try to counter it, not hard counter it specifically, but like try to pre-position their army, figure out where it is, scout it ahead. That's kind of, did you feel like empowered by that, or was that like this is a kind of a dirty strategy? What was your thoughts for carrier?
So I made it when I was practicing against AI a little bit. As I said, I made a lot of units, and well, obviously there's the arbiter, there's something looking like scout, the other ones, there's this completely new thing that, I don't know, looks very straightforward, like, I don't know, stronger scout maybe, let's say.
Okay.
But then I made carrier, and I was like, oh, this looks strong, but it's expensive, so it's very hard to take into that. So I was like, oh, this feels right. I will just make it, because I also used to love carriers a lot in Brood War as well.
Right.
And I still like them in SC2. So I just like the unit, and I believe I had the feeling it's strong, and well, you confirmed that, so that's good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, the biggest problem is that if you don't have the knowledge of how to counter it, and this is sort of true about Protoss for Zerg specifically in general, is that like Zerg units are much more fragile than Protoss units, and so if you don't wisely position your army and have the right kind of tools available to use, you are going to maybe just get run over, which did end up happening a lot of times, especially when you started making gateways before Nexus. Then it must have just been like, well, he's starting to counter my Nexus openings, so I'm just going to go gateways. And were you satisfied with the results? Because I think the first time you did that, it was Heartbreak Ridge. Actually, you still went Nexus first, but you went for a much faster gateway flood and then just kind of waypointed across the map. And,
Oh, yeah.
you know, like those kinds of things. Of course, there was the Proxy 4 gate, which is hilarious. But you have all of these options to just do these much more faster military timings, and you started to flex into that. Were you satisfied with the results? Because you started to do some pretty good damage.
Yeah, I was shocked how good it feels because in Brood War I would sometimes do the double gateway pressure with even 2, 3, 4 probes. I was thinking about bringing workers to the with the zealots, but I was like, oh, okay, the zealots feel strong, so I will just rally through the map. And on the Heartbreak Ridge map, I was like, okay, let's try to put a little bit more pressure, and hopefully I will. Gain some momentum, maybe get third base, etc. Because if he can just spam units without any problems, then I'm in trouble. So it was very simple thought process. I didn't expect to make such a lead and sometimes even win straight away. So it was very surprising.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why too is that it can be challenging for the Zerg to navigate what structures to make in the early game, whereas like for Protoss, typically you just go gateway, and you know, like there are some people who go 1 gate expand, and some people go like 3 gate expand, which is obviously way later. The Nexus is way later then, but very few people are trying like the Lattice, the Robo, which gives you the flying guys. I also thought it was very cinematic when you ended up with golems. I don't know if you've played with them much, but the fact that they walked in and that was the last GG at that point, which I can just imagine is...
They have some ability, I recall. I made them, I checked the ability and was like, oh, they could probably synergize well with Zealots, and there's this gateway units, it's like 50-50 caster. Yep. He also has some passive ability, and I believe it's also works okay with golems and zealots. So I was like, okay, let's go full 3 kinds of zealots and let's go.
Yeah, the shield comp. There's like a unit that you can get later on that it's like if you know Warcraft 3 Spirit Link for the Tauren, it's sort of like that, but only for shields. And so it's like it takes all the damage, reduces it by a certain amount, and splits it across to all of the units that are in the area. So it's you imagine trying to add that to it. It's like really hard to deal with that. So yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of different synergies. Protoss is kind of a good race for that particular thing, and the Zerg ones do kind of open up a little bit more complexly, perhaps. When Mixu started off, he was like, if I don't want to play campy style, what do I pick? And I was kind of like, I was about to say anything but Terran, but then I was like, well, even Terran, you can just spam out bio units a lot of the time and make a lot of, the mobile guys, like Marine Medic equivalent or whatever, and you can move across the map really fast. So maybe one day we'll get you up against a Terran and you can see, maybe Thermal will answer the call next time or something, but it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting. Given that you've already name dropped the fact that there's, like you mentioned, there's a lot of different units to explore and see how that goes. We obviously have like our own set of tournaments and stuff, and so we have our own internal meta game. And then we love to see like what the pros do, and they don't really have the awareness of that because they don't play Cosmonarchy. They're playing it for the show match, and then they're like, well, I guess I can do this. And it was cool to see like Storm play. Mixu worked in Nathracors, those flying Zergling units, really well. I thought people think that those are useless, and I've always said probably not useless, and it turns out they were actually pretty good at harassment. So there's stuff like that where it's like really cool to have the pros pop in and do that. With that said. When you're talking about, trying to imagine what all of those other units do, and you're talking about, like, for example, the Golem, you read the passive, the Ecclesiast, the ranged unit from the Gateway that you were referencing as well. What do you reckon, like, I guess to put it a more fine point on it, when we're talking about how Cosmonarchy has all of these units, it can feel very overwhelming. Did any of that come up in the middle of the show match? Did you have anything like, like, I don't even know what to make necessarily? Or did you kind of, like you said, boil it down to a few options? I know I can make carrier, and I know I can make, like, a lot of gateway units and a lot of grand libraries for the, more advanced gateway units, so to speak. Did you ever run up against something where you're like, I don't know what to do? You mentioned Lurker earlier, but was there something else like that?
Only lurkers and those super early range zerglings that Mixu would do, that they felt very strong. Hydras were like okay, but those zerglings seem very the ranged ones seem very tough, and mass lurker I'm still unsure how I should transition in the early games, because obviously the carrier can do it, but to get to the carrier it takes forever. So that was a bit what should I do moment, but maybe if I had like more time, more games, I would I would just try other things and see what happens. I would make an observer for sure.
Sure, see how that goes. Yeah, it's cool to see. It's definitely cool to see. It's also always funny when I was just talking about how the pros have a completely different, like they do completely different things. You guys come in here and you do completely different things than we do. But it's also amusing to me when something happens that also makes our own players angry about things. They're like, oh no, he's suffering from that. And lurkers have been like something that Protoss players have struggled with in general. Like there are ways to do it. I think typically Protoss is seen as slightly favored versus Zerg right now, but it's a minor percentage. It's not necessarily like, I think our best player right now is a Protoss StarCraft 1 pro named Oya, and then we have Zeki for Zerg, who very recently started to come at him, and so maybe that will normalize over time. But some of our best players do struggle versus Lurker in particular, and so it was kind of in a funny way, cathartic, I guess you could say, to have our own homegrown Protosses go, damn, I also lose to that, So you know how it is. That's the content for the viewers in that, so that's always good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Indy, for joining us for this interview and also for the show match overall. Some very exciting games. I'm definitely going to isolate a few of those and turn them into clips, try to farm those viewers. But appreciate you very much, and I wish you very good luck in the next one. Next time I see you here and the next casts that you've got lined up for StarCraft 2 and all that. Do you have any final words? Anything you want to plug on your way out?
Well, thank you very much for reaching out to me, and I had a great time, especially since I managed to squeeze the win. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you very much for that experience, and thanks to all the viewers. If any one of you happen to know Polish, you are always very welcome to on my stream. Even if you don't, then you can of course watch as well. But you will not understand that much, I guess. Okay, so thank you very much, and hopefully there is gonna be a next one.
Yeah, talk. GG's. We'll see you next time, man. Alrighty. Lads and lasses, that does it. Our show match is concluded. I did see that Mixu was in the chat there talking about the opening macro is confusing. Yeah. I do think that it can be, like Dog describes in the YouTube chat, esoteric. It's something that does require a little bit of forethought or knowledge, which is why I didn't say, I recommend going Larvosk. Like I did mention that other players do that, go for a more mass Larvosk strategy in the opening game, because it's so hard to juggle the Droleth to try to constantly be harvesting gas at the right time. That's like a advanced tactic that you learn about later. For more straightforward success, I actually think Hatch first could have worked out pretty well. You probably want to open pool and rely on a lot of pool units if you're going to do that. There's some interesting back and forths. Unfortunately, a lot of the maps ended up being very rush-oriented, and so it was pretty hard for them to make that happen. Hey, Indy just followed on Twitch. Appreciate you. GG's. Very difficult there in some of the maps that ended up being chosen for more standard macro play, yet that is still... there were some very, very fun games in the opening stages. I thought Brainstorm was super cool. The back and forth there, the more delayed expansion, finding success with going for Larvosk Pool Hatch on the natural was, I think, maybe the ticket to win. So I'll be in contact with Mixu and Indy to pay out their prize winnings. If you want to help fund these show matches, you can indeed do so. It's at streamlabs.com/pronogo. I'll go ahead and do that here. Streamlabs.com/pronogo. You can support us there, and we will be paying out the moolah. GG's. We'll be back next time.